So coming up this offseason, could the Golden State Warriors cut Kevon Looney to save some money? And then in turn, use some of that capital to trade for a player like Alex Caruso, who's very affordable, but really Golden State needs every single dollar amount that they can have at their disposal in order to improve this roster. We're talking about that on today's Golden State Warriors Today. I do want to pose this poll question first, though, because I know that you all know ball, so share with me that you know ball. What does Golden State need to do to get back to contender status, especially when you see the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics right now battling it out in the NBA Finals? Share your thoughts with me down below in the comment section. And with that, let's talk some Dubs basketball. Is the Kevon Looney era over? He has been the ultimate glue guy for Golden State throughout this title run over the last several years, and a run that's going to go down in the history books, obviously, among Warrior fans as a great era in franchise history, but one of the best eras in all of basketball. And we see right now, with the lack of repeat winners as far as NBA championships go, it's so difficult to accomplish what the Warriors accomplished for such an extended period of time, and Kevon Looney was a big part of that success. The Warriors could save some money in moving on from Kevon Looney if they part ways with the three-time NBA champion and ultimate glue guy. A cut saves $5 million of Looney's $8 million for the 2024-2025 season. So remember that as we make our way through today's show. Here's what Tim Kawakami, longtime Bay Area sports writer, had to say on The Athletic about Kevon Looney here. I think the likeliest situation is that he's cut and he makes $3 million from them and he's off looking for another spot. And there will be another spot for him in this league. Teams are going to want him, again, for a very low number, but they're going to want him. It feels like a logical move. It feels like a move that a smart basketball organization would make. And if Bob Myers was still running this team, it's a move that you would imagine Bob Myers would maneuver, right? Mike Dunleavy Jr., I think that he is a smart basketball mind, but we're just not sure at this point how he operates and how he moves because there's only 1 year of sample size with him running a basketball team. But when a cut for a declining player saves $5 million of the $8 million for this upcoming year, and you have a lot of holes on this team, you're either trying to get a star or you're trying to get some really good complementary pieces, the avenue in which this makes sense is an avenue that's worth taking. And from my view, the Warriors and Joe Lacob, as Joe Lacob, the owner, has talked about, want to get as close to under the luxury tax as possible. And every move really does count. You save $20 here, you save $20 there off your paycheck. All of a sudden, you got a couple $100. From an NBA organizational standpoint, you save this much money, and it really does impact your team building strategy. Past 4 years for Looney. I thought last year we saw some signs of decline, but this is a player who's always active on the glass, very smart, makes championship-winning plays. I think his rim and paint protection is a little bit underrated. Never a player that averaged a bunch of points per game, right? But always a player who had a couple of timely baskets here and there. And I think what's so great about Kevon Looney, it's the points and the rebounds. And then you could count on him around the rim when he'd catch a pass from Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, or somebody else to put the biscuit in the basket. Would you be upset if the Warriors cut Kevon Looney? Emotionally, could be a difficult decision to make because he's won 3 championships with this squad. Yes or no? Let me know down in the comment section right now. I do think he's very replaceable. Looney knew the system well, no question. But there are a handful, maybe even dozens of players that possess the same skill set for a lot cheaper. And you can find these types of players, glue guys is what we like to call them, in the draft or on vet minimum deals. And Kevon Looney right now is not on a vet minimum deal. Now, we did talk about Kevon Looney and a replacement in this video. It's up on the channel right now, closing in on 10,000 views. So if you want to go check that out, we certainly appreciate that. But in this draft class in particular, especially with where the Warriors are going to be selecting and drafting in that second round, you can find a Kevon Looney type of replacement and look at what Trayce Jackson-Davis was able to do last year. He has some of the elements to his game that Kevon Looney brought to those Warriors teams when they were winning Larry O.B.'s. Stay tuned because coming up next, Alex Caruso to Golden State. Could the Dubs pull off a trade for the sharpshooter and very good defender who can also handle the basketball? Continue to rock and roll with us. But first, rock and roll with Prize Picks. It's the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. You can get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on the projected stats, and you can win up to 25 times your money. What's cool about the Prize Picks app, you win big money, you withdraw your winnings within the app, and the process is so simple. Going into Game 2 of the NBA Finals, Boston Celtics up 1-0 after they shot the lights out. Here are some of the selections that we like. Luka Doncic, more than 31.5 points. Must-win game for Dallas. Can't go down 2-0. Jason Tatum, more than 14.5 rebounds and assists. We saw how good he was outside of scoring the basketball in Game 1 and helped really Kristaps Porzingis break out. He was the MVP of Game 1 in my estimation, protecting the rim as well. Kyrie Irving, more than 22.5 points. Maybe things start to slow down a little bit for him. An emotional return to Boston, getting booed. He played a little bit tight. Will he loosen up a little bit? We think so. $100 deposit match, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Link is hanging out down in the show notes, and it's attached to the pinned comment of this video so that you can sign up today. As for an Alex Caruso trade, you think about what the Warriors need, right? Especially if they lose Klay Thompson. Shooting and defense. And Bleacher Report proposing a trade that would send Caruso to the Bay Area here. And we want to take a look at that trade and dissect that. Grant Hughes talking about it, saying Caruso could help the Warriors return to form on defense, graded out last year as the best backcourt defender in the league among those who played at least 20 games. And by defensive estimated plus minus, has been an all-defensive honoree in each of the past 2 years. One could argue Gary Payton II is close to Caruso's level when healthy, but his 44 appearances last year were the second most of his career. For him, when healthy, has been, well, basically never. I mean, Grant makes a good point there. Gary Payton II, during that run to the championship, that season, he was awesome. And then what happened in the playoffs? He got hurt, and he's always a player, unfortunately, who seems to get hurt. So fun to watch because he's guarded all 5 positions at times, and he's been able to throw down some hammers, hit some big and clutch corner threes. But you can't count on a player who is never available. Caruso would be a great fit. He's been durable throughout his career. He can handle, play on ball, off ball. He can knock down the three and defends clearly at a very, very high level. Should the Warriors make a deal for Caruso? Another poll question coming your way. T for trade, P for pass. What do you think about the Dubs making this move? Let's take a look at the numbers for Caruso. 71 games played last year with the Chicago Bulls, and just a player who I think championship-level teams and playoff-level teams across the NBA would just be salivating over trying to add him to their club. That's why going into the NBA trade deadline, some marquee title contenders were hitting up Chicago, but Chicago continues to settle for mediocrity ever since Michael Jordan. That's why they've been a mediocre basketball team for so long, over the last 2+ decades, because they just settle for mediocrity, being in the middle of the pack. Caruso last year, 10.5 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And then you look at the stocks, is what some people call it, steals and blocks combined. That is 1.7 steals per game and a block per night. So that's 2.7 turnovers there. And sometimes that number can be even higher with just making plays that lead to turnovers or lead to misses. And that's what Caruso brings to his teams on the defensive end. And then the field goal, 3-point numbers, 46.8% and 40.8%. He's really taken strides as a two-way player. And if you go back and watch the tape and turn on some of the highlights of what he did for the Lakers during that Mickey Mouse title run in the NBA bubble, Alex Caruso's made some really nice improvements since that season, and he's turned himself into a very, very good two-way player. That Bleacher Report trade idea is as such, where the Dubs get Caruso, and then the Bulls get Moses Moody, Gary Payton, and a 2026 lottery-protected first. What the Bulls would then get, you replace the shooting loss with Caruso, with the shooting of Moses Moody. Of course, Moody is not the same defensive player as Caruso, but we have seen some glimpses of Moody being able to play some lockdown defense. I thought in the playoffs 2 years ago when he got those rare minutes from Steve Kerr, he held up well guarding the perimeter. And if Gary Payton can stay healthy, that's some defense right there. So you get the shooting and the defense with two players that can make up for what the Bulls are losing with Caruso. And then that first-round pick if you're eyeing a rebuild over the next couple of years. I have reservations about trading Moody because of some of the reasons that I said. He can shoot the rock, man. And he can defend when he's engaged, when he's just getting consistent minutes. Him getting consistent minutes will help bring the best out of the player there. But with the decline of Golden State's defense, they kind of need a spark on that end. And there is no question, there's no doubt that Alex Caruso would be able to provide that. Would you make this trade? A for accept, D for decline. The Dubs get Caruso, Bulls get Moody, Payton, lottery protected first. Let us know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here on Golden State Warriors Today. Appreciate everybody for watching. Smitty on the ones and twos, crushing the game, and all of you for making this possible.